He received free eggs from the girl next door every time he opened his door each day. Yet the moment he turned around, he threw all those eggs straight into the trash. Finally one day, his unpleasant behavior was accidentally witnessed by the girl.
Don't you want them?
Well, Julie, I mean, look at your backyard. It's a complete mess. It's like covered in turds.
She angrily snatched the eggs back. She had thought that her expression of affection would earn the boy's appreciation, yet she never expected that he simply found the eggs disgusting. She never imagined that the boy she had admired for so many years would act in such a disappointing way. From that day on, Juli stopped paying attention to Bryce, but Bryce began to regret it. He had grown used to the clingy girl who always followed him around. When Juli was 7 years old, the first time she saw Bryce, she was instantly drawn to his eyes that sparkled like stars. She wanted to play with Bryce, but during their playful chasing, their hands accidentally intertwined. Looking into Bryce's charming eyes, Juli felt for the first time what it meant to have her heart race. She believed that liking someone meant expressing it bravely, so from then on, whenever she saw Bryce, she would give him a big hug without hesitation. However, this made Bryce extremely troubled, and over time, they became the couple classmates teased about, even making up a rhyme about them.
Bryce and Juli sitting in a tree. Kissing.
Bryce didn't like this, but he didn't dare tell Juli directly, until 6th grade when Bryce finally came up with a good idea, which was to pretend to pursue the school's most popular girl and deliberately act close to her whenever Juli could see it. As expected, Juli truly began to distance herself from Bryce, but the good times did not last long, for not long after, Bryce's best friend Gary began to like the popular girl and revealed Bryce's entire plan to her.
Jerk.
And just like that, the popular girl broke up with Bryce, yet this scene was fully seen by Juli from the side. She couldn't help secretly rejoicing because Bryce was single again. From then on, she would unconsciously lean closer just to smell the sweet, melon-like scent on his shirt, and she fantasized about the day she could truly be with Bryce, but she had no idea that her overwhelming enthusiasm had already made Bryce feel uneasy. He only wanted to avoid this strange and bothersome girl who clung to him. Ever since Bryce's family moved into the neighborhood, Bryce's father would often mock Juli's family through the window, calling them unsophisticated country people, laughing at their messy yard and old, worn-out car, and even saying that Juli's father was an overly ambitious but unsuccessful artist. Over time, this subtly influenced Bryce, making him develop the same bias toward Juli's family. Yet Juli had no idea about any of this, until one day, when her father was painting in the yard, he suddenly asked her a question. "Why do you like Bryce?"
I don't know. I guess it's something about his eyes. Or maybe a smile.
What about him?
What?
Her father told her that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, and liking someone means seeing their entire self, not just one single aspect. But at that time, Juli did not understand the deeper meaning behind her father's words. One day, by coincidence, she climbed a tall sycamore tree trying to rescue a kite whose string had snapped. And the higher she climbed, the more she was amazed by the scenery before her. The blue sky, drifting clouds, and gentle breeze made this ordinary landscape suddenly feel breathtaking, so beautiful that she couldn't help but breathe in with pure emotion.
Hey, you found my kite.
Bryce! It's so beautiful.
I can't. I sprained my,
Juli invited Bryce many times to enjoy the view with her, but Bryce always refused with various excuses, because his friends often mocked her for being strange, and even his father criticized her family's yard. So he didn't want to be seen as someone like Juli. So when Juli praised the view from the tree, Bryce said so.
Well, if by beautiful you mean unbelievably ugly, then yes, I would agree.
You're just visually challenged. I feel sorry for you.
From then on, Juli became obsessed with this place. She climbed the sycamore tree every day to watch the clouds surge at sunrise, to see the beams of light pierce through the morning mist, and to watch the colors on the horizon turn brilliantly unpredictable at sunset. At this moment she seemed to suddenly understand her father's words about the whole being greater than its parts. Perhaps before, she only saw the bright spots on Bryce, But now she no longer limited herself to the people and things on the ground and instead set her eyes on a wider world. But beautiful times always seemed short, and one day a group of uninvited visitors appeared under the tree, for the owner of the sycamore had decided to cut it down to build a house. But Juli could not bear it. Her heart ached as if being cut. She could not accept that this piece of heaven would disappear. For Juli, this tree not only showed her a breathtaking view she had never seen before, but also became a place where her heart found comfort. So when she saw Bryce arriving under the tree to wait for the school bus, she thought hope had come.
Bryce, you guys, come up here with me. They won't cut it down if we're all up here.
Yet no matter how she cried and begged, Bryce remained unmoved. He could not understand why a sycamore tree would make her so sad. But even so, a slight ripple rose in his heart. This was the first time he wanted to help Juli, but moments later, he still chose to turn around and leave. As more and more people gathered under the tree, even attracting reporters, Juli still refused to move, until her father climbed up the sycamore tree, and only then did she agree with tearful eyes. When the sycamore tree was cut down, Juli's heart seemed to fall silent along with the scattered pieces of wood. In class she began to drift off, and even Bryce, who once made her heart race, now seemed unimportant. From then on, Juli never waited for the bus under the sycamore again. She rode her bike on a detour every day, simply to avoid seeing the remaining stump that broke her heart. Even though a week had passed, every time she thought of the tree, Juli could not help feeling sad again. When her father came into her room and showed her a painting, it was a portrait of the sycamore tree.
I never want you to forget how you felt when you were up there.
Thanks, Dad.
From then on, Juli could see the tree the moment she opened her eyes, and she could fall asleep while looking at it. Gradually she stopped crying and stopped feeling sad, because she began to see what existed beyond the tree, and the true meaning it had given her. She began to re-examine everything around her and started to question whether her love for Bryce was truly worth it. Without Juli constantly clinging to him, Bryce felt a bit relieved. But for some reason, whenever he saw Juli looking sad because of the tree, he also felt a slight heaviness in his heart. Yet to avoid being followed by Juli again, he did not step forward to comfort her, until one day, his grandfather, who had just moved in recently, handed him a newspaper. For the news of Juli protesting the tree cutting had made the front page. His grandfather praised her for being a girl with strong spirit and even wanted to invite her over. But Bryce thought Juli was stubborn and a bothersome girl who always stuck to him.
Well, a girl like that doesn't live next door to everyone.
Lucky them.
But Bryce did not take his grandfather's words to heart. Perhaps the most precious realizations come only through reflection after losing something. Not long after, at the school science fair, Juli won first place in her project with the chicks she had hatched. She raised these chicks in her yard, and as they grew, the number of eggs became more than her family could eat. So she decided to give some to Bryce's family, for she still held feelings for Bryce. But Bryce's father thought the eggs were not clean and told Bryce to return them all. Yet he had no courage to face Juli, so he secretly threw all the eggs into the trash. It continued like this. She sent them. He threw them away until one day Juli accidentally caught Bryce dumping the eggs.
I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
She felt the pain of her dignity being stepped on, and this pain was no less than the day the sycamore tree was cut down. So that night, Juli told her parents that she wanted to tidy up the yard, and under her father's questioning, Juli admitted that Bryce's family looked down on their messy yard, but they were only renters, and fixing the yard was the landlord's responsibility. And Juli's father also had a brother with disabilities, and to support him, the entire family was living frugally, dealing with a leaking washing machine, a broken air conditioner, and now a daughter who had been hurt. And Juli's mother could no longer hold back her emotions and began to cry about life's hardships. But her father still insisted that he could never give up supporting his brother.
He's more important than your own children! Dad! Stop it, Dad!
This was the first time Juli had seen her parents argue so intensely, and a wave of guilt washed over her. But it was through this argument that she learned she had an uncle with disabilities. After dinner, her father apologized for losing his temper and for the first time sincerely told her about his brother. And Juli understood the burden her father had been carrying. Before bed, her mother also came to comfort her. telling her about her father's kindness and resilience, and that although life was difficult, she never regretted marrying him. And with the love of her parents, Juli was rich in ways that truly mattered, and she never felt she lacked anything compared to others. So the next morning, Juli asked to go with her father to visit the uncle she had never met. Her uncle looked full of innocence, like a child who had never grown up. And the next moment, when his ice cream slipped from his hand, he suddenly became overwhelmed with emotion. And only after Juli bought him a new ice cream did he gradually calm down. And this moment finally made Juli understand how much responsibility her father had been carrying. From then on, she stopped dwelling on those so-called rumors and decided to tidy up the yard with her own hands. But no longer for Bryce. Courage in giving is admirable, but staying true to oneself and distinguishing right from wrong may matter even more than love. After the egg incident, Juli and Bryce's roles seemed to reverse overnight. Juli stopped paying attention to Bryce, yet Bryce began wanting to get close to Juli, but every time he tried, Juli avoided him as quickly as she could. What he didn't expect was that on his way home from school that day, he accidentally saw his usually quiet grandfather chatting happily with Juli while helping her clean the yard, as if they had endless topics to discuss. At that moment Bryce was curious, but he didn't dare walk over to ask, until that night when his grandfather, having learned about the egg incident, found Bryce and told him seriously,
One's character is set at an early age. You see, you swim out so far you can't swim back.
Sir?
Sometimes a little discomfort in the beginning can save a whole lot of pain down the road.
His grandfather's words made Bryce realize that his actions had hurt Juli. So the next day he gathered his courage for the first time and went to Juli to sincerely apologize for the egg incident. At this moment Juli was no longer angry, but she did not want to say much to Bryce either, because once trust shatters, the cracks are hard to mend. From that day on, whenever Juli was working in the yard, Bryce's grandfather would always step forward to help. He admired this thoughtful and strong girl, but his actions drew Bryce's father's displeasure, who scolded him for helping a stranger instead of playing baseball with Bryce, and even mocked Juli's uncle for having a disability, ridiculing their family's genes.
It has nothing to do with chromosomes. When Juli's uncle was umbilical cord wrapped around his neck, if he'd had enough oxygen, he would have been a perfect little baby, just like your son.
God damn it, Chet!
It turned out that when Bryce was born, he too had almost faced danger from the umbilical cord, but thanks to an excellent doctor, Bryce survived safely. Hearing this, Bryce felt a chill down his spine. If he had not been saved back then, would he have received the same cold treatment from his father? Later they took a walk to the stump of the tree that had been cut down, and thinking of the news about Juli climbing the tree, his grandfather suddenly said so.
She's quite a girl. Some of us get dipped in flat. Some in satin, some in gloss. But every once in a while, you find someone who's... And when you do, nothing will ever compare.
His grandfather's words felt like opening a window in Bryce's long-closed world, making him begin to think about what kind of girl Juli truly was, and he suddenly realized he had never really tried to understand her. So he took out the newspaper that had featured Juli, and as he looked at it, he seemed to see a faint light that had always been overlooked on Juli. The next day, his mother suggested inviting Juli's family for dinner, and everyone happily agreed except for Bryce's sharp-tongued father.
Just shoot me now.
Somehow Bryce now found himself thinking of Juli uncontrollably, wanting to look at her newspaper again, and even in class he would unconsciously glance her way. He didn't understand why he had become like this. Was he actually starting to like Juli? But his friend told him,
Are you freaking mental? Juli Baker, you hate her.
His friend believed he was only feeling guilty because of the egg incident, not real affection, and even made rude remarks about Juli's family. Bryce wanted to argue back, but when the words reached his lips, he swallowed them and silently agreed instead. After school, he didn't walk home with his friend for the first time, because he realized he didn't want to hear anyone talk about Juli, and he began to understand that he did not dislike Juli. He might even like her.
I liked Juli Baker.
But he had no idea that his conversation with his friend in the library had been overheard completely by Juli standing behind the bookshelves. and Bryce's silence convinced Juli that she would never like him again. Perhaps growing up often comes with the pain of disillusionment, but it is through that pain that Juli learned to move from blind infatuation to clear understanding. Soon the night of the dinner arrived, and Bryce spent 3 hours getting ready. Yet what awaited him was only Juli's cold attitude.
I heard you and Garrett making fun of my uncle in the library.
Bryce hurried to explain that he knew his friend's words were wrong. He simply hadn't spoken up at the time.
And that makes you a coward.
During dinner, Bryce's father kept making snide remarks, intentionally bringing up Juli's uncle with disabilities. And even though Juli's father responded calmly, the atmosphere still grew increasingly tense. It wasn't until Juli's brothers talked about the music they loved that Bryce's father suddenly fell silent. For in his youth he too had been a talented saxophone player before giving up his musical dreams for various reasons. The more passionately they talked about dreams, the quieter Bryce's father became, and Bryce seemed to glimpse a fragile side of his father. But Juli, being more perceptive, seemed to see through his facade and even noticed the decay hidden beneath it. Suddenly Juli felt relieved, no longer hurt by their words, and she did not speak a single word to Bryce throughout the night. Only when the dinner ended did she find Bryce to apologize for what she had said earlier. She was calm, so calm that she no longer felt any flutter in her heart when facing Bryce. Because true love is not blind admiration but choosing respect after seeing someone's full truth. But shortly after Juli's family left, Bryce's father began speaking with harsh disdain again, insulting Juli's family and even hitting Bryce's sister who tried to defend them.
Matter with you?
Go to hell.
Don't you talk to me like that!
Bryce saw all of this, and he began recalling his father's mocking tone and his behavior at the table. Perhaps his father's aggressiveness was only a shield hiding his own weakness, and perhaps Bryce did not have to live in the shadow of others, whether friends or father. That night Bryce formed his own independent thoughts. Soon after, the school held its annual charity lunch auction where girls bid for the lunch baskets prepared by boys to earn the chance to have lunch with them. Bryce originally had no interest in participating, but when he heard that Juli would be joining the auction, he decided to prepare a lunch basket as well. On stage he waited eagerly for Juli to bid on him, but to his surprise, Juli bid on another plain-looking boy, and Bryce's heart seemed to fall into an endless abyss. Even though the person sitting across from him was the most admired girl in school, his eyes kept wandering to Juli not far away, watching her laugh and talk with someone else. And Bryce finally could no longer hold back the surge of emotion in his heart and rushed forward to grab Juli.
What's going on, Bryce? What are you doing? Bryce, stop it!
Bryce, you didn't even make it to first base.
Hey, Bryce, I'll kiss you.
Although Juli had imagined this moment for years, it was not supposed to be today, and not like this. He wanted to express his feelings to her, but at that moment his friend ran up and criticized him for leaving the admired girl behind and chasing after someone he called strange.
Babe. Shut up! I don't need the association. Well, good, because neither do I. Yeah, neither do I.
This was the first time Bryce defended Juli, yet he still did not understand that real affection must be built on mutual respect, not on sudden impulse. Feeling offended and humiliated, Juli decided to ignore Bryce completely, but Bryce began seeking her out constantly, wanting to apologize, yet Juli shut him out. He called again and again, and Juli ignored every call. After a few days of persistence, the world finally became quiet, and when Juli thought he had given up, she suddenly heard digging in her yard, and to her surprise, Bryce was digging a hole in her carefully kept lawn. Juli felt annoyed and wanted to stop him, but when she saw Bryce place a small sapling into the hole, and when she looked closely, she realized it was a young sycamore tree. At that moment, the quiet strings in her heart were touched again by Bryce, so she walked out the door and approached him, and looking into Bryce's eyes that shone like stars, Juli suddenly remembered their first meeting.
He looked at me with those eyes. Those once again dazzling eyes. And I knew that Bryce Losky was still walking around with my first kiss.
I thought back to the first time I saw her. How could anybody, ever, have wanted to run away from Juli Baker?
For the first time, he saw in her the light of something greater than the sum of its parts, and that light came not just from her eyes but from the kindness awakening in his heart and his courage to change for love. For Juli, this love was the alchemy of growth, helping her transform through pain, and for Bryce, This love was like a mirror of the soul, revealing his fear, his prejudice, and his tendency to follow others, and teaching him the courage to face mistakes and to change for love. Perhaps that first spark came from a single breathtaking glance, but the true meaning of love is finding a better version of oneself reflected in the eyes of another.